Gerald Kennedy, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
So help you God.
So help me God.
January 20th, 1961, President Kennedy takes the oath of office. 3 days later, a nuclear-armed B-52 bomber begins a routine flight over North Carolina.
I had some engine trouble, and actually part of the bomber exploded. In this particular case, it was carrying two extremely large thermonuclear weapons, two hydrogen bombs, came right out of the fuselage.
The hydrogen bomb is basically like bringing a piece of the sun down on Earth.
Now, there are safety devices on all nuclear weapons precisely intended to stop them from going off unless they're supposed to. And in the case of one of these nuclear weapons, the parachute deployed, it floated safely to Earth, and it was recovered. The other one wasn't so lucky. The parachute didn't deploy, and the signal to the bomb to fire was actually given. So the bomb should have exploded. There was one safety feature, apparently a low voltage switch, that held.
We were saved by a tiny microcircuit, a switch, really. If it had gone off, we would have lost about half of North Carolina.
When a nuclear weapon is stolen, dropped, somehow damaged, it's called a broken arrow. Basically meaning that the weapon is no longer in the custody of who it's supposed to be in, or that it won't function as intended. And over the course of the nuclear era in the US, there have been dozens of broken arrow incidents.
In addition to broken arrows, there have been a terrifying number of white-knuckle close calls.
One of the most significant was in June 3rd, 1980, when the NORAD board lit up with a ballistic missile attack from the Soviet Union.
So National Security Advisor Brzezinski was woken up in the middle of the night, and he was told by the military assistant, "We've detected 220 incoming ICBMs from the Soviet Union." And he decided to go back to the military aide and said, are you sure? And the military aide checked and came back and said, "No, we've made a mistake. It's not 220, it's 2,200.
Brzezinski thought this was it. He looked over at his wife sleeping and decided not to wake her, because in 30 minutes, we'd all be dead.
And Brzezinski says he was very close to recommending retaliation.
Fortunately, there was a third phone call. It's a mistake, we're standing down.
NORAD did not detect any incoming nuclear weapons. What happened is a computer chip failed and somehow triggered a warning that actually didn't exist. Everything was perfectly fine. The computer chip apparently cost 46 cents.
A computer chip almost caused World War III.
Now, one might be tempted to say this was a one-off, but in fact it wasn't. A similar computer chip failed 3 days later, creating another warning of incoming nuclear weapons that actually didn't exist.
There have been dozens of very significant false alarms. Training tapes being inserted into computers simulating a nuclear attack, and nobody knew it was just a training exercise. Flocks of geese mistaken for a missile flight, a rising moon over Norway mistaken for bomber launch.
But false alarms involving nuclear weapons are not just a Cold War phenomenon.
A false emergency alert about a ballistic missile threat had people running for cover.
In 2018, all the residents of Hawaii got emergency alert systems on their phone. Ballistic missile attack, seek cover. This is not a drill.
And there was reason to believe it was true.
Rocket Man should have been handled a long time ago.
People thought this was it, because tensions had been high between Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un, the dictator of North Korea, with talk of fire and fury.
are freaking out, and as well they should be. Imagine just picking up your cell phone and seeing that the government is telling you that you're about to be met with nuclear Armageddon.
And so people called family members in the mainland to say goodbye.
I just want to know that I love you guys.
They took shelter anywhere they could think of.
People even took the covers off of manholes so that they could put their children in the storm drains, and that maybe they would be protected there from an incoming ballistic missile.
And for 38 terrifying minutes, people thought this was the end of their lives, maybe the end of the world, before it was disclosed that this was a mistake.
So what went wrong? An employee at the Hawaii Emergency Management Agency accidentally sent out a real alert during a drill.
But if Hawaii had been connected to the national network and it was a national alert, the entire country would have been put into this panic with no way of knowing whether it was real or not.
The point of all of these false alarms is once you get to the president, how does the president know that it's a false alarm? The president would have 15 minutes or less to make a decision about whether or not to respond. How do we know that during that time, any mistake, any problem, any glitch in the computer system would be resolved and that someone would be able to get to the president and say, wait a minute, it's not 2,200 incoming nuclear weapons, it's actually a faulty computer chip. My bad, sorry, we woke you.